And it went on, you know when the music stops and you're still going, Yeah, I don't look like a footballer, but I played like one, so I feel proud of it.
Sid, how are we?
Very good, mate. How are you?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. We are back. Another episode of Lifting the Lid.
Yep.
We've got a good one today. Who we got on?
It's huge.
It's massive.
It is literally huge.
Gigantic.
This fella, he's a fan's favourite. He's a national treasure. He's played for one of the biggest clubs in world football.
Yeah.
World Cups, Champions League finals, and not only that, he's on FA Cup winners medal.
He's done a lot, hasn't he?
It's the one and only Peter Crouch.
Oh, what a legend.
Go on, Crouchy!
We love Crouchy. We love the big man. What are we talking to the big man about?
We are talking pressure today.
Pressure.
Someone, again, that's played at all these tournaments, the club football, and dealing with that probably stigma that's gone around with being the big man. You know, good touch for a big man. We're going youth team days, we're going throughout his career. We are not just scratching the surface, we're going to go deep in.
We are going in, yeah?
We're going in.
Right, let's get him out.
Let's get
Crouchy!
him out.
Crouchy, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, not bad at all. Obviously, FA Cup. We're going to go into the 2006 final in a bit, but what are your memories of the FA Cup growing up?
Well, it was the biggest tournament around when I was growing up. I grew up, obviously we were in Wembley now, I could see the Twin Towers, it was back then, from my mate's bedroom window. I used to go up and have a look at it, so getting to Wembley, the FA Cup was what it was all about. I mean, the Champions League, the European Cup was huge, but growing up as a young boy, sort of definitely in this area, the FA Cup was the one you wanted to win. So, eventually when I got there, it was a special moment and something that will live with me forever.
And when you were in the garden as a youngster, pretending you won the FA Cup or scoring the winning goal in the FA Cup final, what player were you?
I was probably Gaza because sort of in those early, early on, the 1990 World Cup was my introduction really into, I was 9 years old. That's when you probably love football more than anything. You just take in everything you can watch. Gaza I think he was at Spurs at the time. Not the World Cup, he was a genius, so I always wanted to emulate Gaza.
We talk about growing up and FA Cup memories and being in the garden and growing up not far away from Wembley. Did you ever think that one day you'd be doing the old
Rod Stewart?
Talking about pressure.
Honest truth, I don't think I've ever felt more pressure than that moment because in a bizarre way, with obviously the podcast I do, the boys would never have let me live it down if I didn't go full Rod Stewart on the draw. And I was thinking, and obviously you don't realise it's a huge thing. You're sending teams down to play. You've got a lot of fans sort of, wanting a good draw. I had so many old clubs that wanted good draws as well. And I'm doing the balls, and obviously there was security that bring the cup in, so they're watching me. And then there was obviously people just to monitor the draw, writing everything down. There was a lot of people from BT Sport, just checking things over. And I haven't told anyone that I'm going full Rod Stewart. I'm thinking, so I thought to myself, you know what, I've got to do it. And I was so nervous, but I just got it out of the way with the first ball. But
when you go in, are you literally shaking?
I was nervous, yeah.
Are you nervous about dropping? Just dropping the balls? Did you have rehearsals at all?
I was nervous about doing the Rod Stewart number one, but I was also nervous about the ball. You have to do a rehearsal, and if you get one ball comes stray or loose on the floor, you've got to redo the whole thing. And I'm thinking live on telly. After the Rod Stewart, people are going to think I'm messing about, and I thought I needed to get the balls right, definitely, but I felt a lot of pressure, I did.
It's a number 6, that's a number 9.
I was worried about it. And also, we drew, I think I drew Liverpool at Man United, and which was obviously not great for the Liverpool fans. I could feel my phone buzzing in my pocket. Honestly, yeah. And I knew the first 3 people I knew exactly who they'd be. Yeah. And one of them was Ab's dad. And sure enough, he
What did it say?
calling me all the names under the sun for the draw. But in rehearsal, I drew out City United.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was obviously a Manchester derby.
Wow.
Which would have been better for Liverpool, but one of those things.
Next time you go on, please, can you get one of the balls out and then drop it, do a couple of kick-ups, and then bring it back up?
Mate, yeah, talk about pressure.
Someone does that.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't
Wow.
it?
Some ability to do that.
But talking about pressure, as a youngster coming through, how much pressure was on you, did you feel?
Well, as a youngster coming through, I don't think you play without pressure, don't you? You play without fear, really. I think that's certainly what I did. It was you're only playing for enjoyment. I had I had dreams of being a footballer, but I didn't think that for one moment that I'd achieved them. I always thought I'm playing for the fun of it. So you played carefree, and that's sometimes the best times of your life, really, in many ways. I think Cesar would agree. It's just you're playing without any fear, without any pressure. You're playing, with so much enjoyment. And I think only when you get older and you realise you've got a chance of making it, or you're playing in big games, that all the outside influences and the pressure sort of comes. But those times as a kid were the best.
Did you feel like you had to prove yourself from an early age, just purely based on like your size and when the perception that you'd have had? People would have thought, just a big man, but like I've played with your ridiculous feet, what you can do with a ball as well. So did you think at the very, very start it was, I'm not just someone, I'm just a target man up top?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, like I said, I grew up with watching Paul Gascoigne, all flair players. I used to watch Italian football, like with Vialli, Zola, Mancini, like. I always wanted to emulate those kinds of players, and I wasn't looking at target men and trying to hold the ball up or win headers. Do you know what I mean? It was all about. So I just grew up with the technical side of the game, and I think certainly early on in my career, people judged me straight away because of my height, and a lot of the mums and dads, because you're only judged by height. Age-wise, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there's no facial hairs. There's no, no one's got huge. But I was just so much taller than everyone else. All the mums and dads used to say, "Oh yeah, he's scoring. I was scoring goals for fun.
Yeah.
He's scoring goals, but he's 2 years older, and all this and that."
You must have got classed as a ringer early days.
Honestly, yeah, it was.
Under 16s playing under 13s. Realised they brought in another ringer.
That was it.
He's not that age, sort of thing.
Honestly, yeah.
Really?
When I scored, a few goals, and I was always sort of, oh yeah, but he's older and stuff. And the other kids will catch up and what have you. No one ever did catch up.
Just kept going.
No one ever did. But no, it was that sort of, and that stigma sort of followed me round until people realised that I could play. I felt in every single match. School games, district games, county games, even when I got to Tottenham as a young player, every game I played in with England trials at Lilleshall, I always felt that I had to prove myself more than other people because I was instantly recognisable. It was like, hold on a minute, what's this?
Did that help you though?
No, I don't think it did. No, I think it hindered me a bit because. I was, people would go, look at him. But then I've always thought there was a stigma of like I couldn't play. And if I did play badly, it would be like, that's he can't play.
Yeah.
But I had to constantly be switched on for every single match because I didn't want one person to be able to go home and go, he can't play. He's just there because he's a big tall lump. I did. That kind of pressure was when I started wanting to make it as a footballer. That followed me around and it never left me really.
No. And at Spurs, is that when you got there? Was that when the pressure started thinking, I could be a pro here? Yeah,
well, that was when I had the sort of inkling that I could make it, and I realised I was holding my own against sort of the best kids from certainly from North London, but from all over, and I realised that I had a chance, and my dad realised that I had a chance really. So he put a bit more pressure on me because he realised that I had an opportunity to make a success of or make a career out of it. I didn't know what kind of career. I had no idea that I'd be sitting here at Wembley saying I played here. Yeah. But at that time I thought if I play in the Championship or League One, I'll be happy with that. So if I make a career out of football, I'll be happy. And but then obviously you don't know. And then the more you sort of go up and the more confidence you get, then you're always for the next target, aren't you?
Amazing. It's interesting you say that because it obviously got to a spell where when you was at Spurs, you couldn't see a pathway getting in because they was so good and the strikers that was there then. So was it hard to leave to then go to a QPR?
Yeah, that was. I I mean, like I said, I mean, certainly at Tottenham, I think sometimes young players get caught up a little bit nowadays with you're at Tottenham or you're at Manchester United or you're at Man City. You're not at all, because you're nowhere near the first team.
No, yeah.
You know, you can say, yeah, you might wear that badge on a Saturday morning, but I sort of knew that early on. I thought, I'm not a Tottenham player. I was playing in the reserves, and you know, I might train with the first team the odd day, but I never really felt like I was going to break through there.
When you did play with the first team, though, did you think, I can get to this level?
I felt, yeah, I did feel technically wise,
Yeah.
but I felt like my body was holding me back. I felt technique wise, I was comfortable, you know, in all the drills and, you know, certainly finishing or anything sort of unopposed.
Right.
But the moment I went up against Sol Campbell or Ramon Vega were the centre halves in those days, trying to think who else was centre half, but you know, as soon as we went into a match situation, I wasn't strong enough, you know, at like 16, 17. I'll tell you now, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't ready for the Premier League until I was 23, 24.
Wow.
Because I just grew so fast.
Yeah.
And my body didn't catch up. And listen, I'm not a unit now. You know what I mean? But let's be honest. But
Show me the whole thing.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, but I managed to work out sort of how to hold people off and how to, you know, manage the game, or you know, how to go up against big, strong defenders and come out on top. I worked out ways around it and stuff. So yeah, it was a difficult time, but I felt, for me, leaving Tottenham to go to QPR bizarrely was a step up, because I was playing at St Albans on a Tuesday night, and you know, that's not a step up. Is playing Championship football with QPR, you know. So you can say, there's two ways of looking at it. You can go, it's a step down, you're at a Premier League club, or you can go, well, actually, you're playing at St Albans every week. You're not playing at Tottenham. You're not really there. You're, you know, just sort of making up the numbers, really. And I felt I went there, and I could make a name for myself, and that was the best thing I ever did.
Absolutely.
So before QPR, you're at Spurs, youth team days. You speak to any pro. We come through the same kind of generation. You speak to any pro that's either been at the top level, or had an unbelievable career, or been League One. They'll always say that the youth team days were the best days of their careers. But it was quite toxic. Well, it's a toxic environment, football, especially in dressing rooms. Even at sort of youth team days, wasn't it, back then? Did you feel pressure within, you know, that ego sort of dressing room, even at a youth team sort of environment? Yeah,
100%. I think it's a difficult. We probably came through the sort of last era of the YCS boys, really, and you know, now it's obviously academies. They get a good education. They probably don't do as many jobs. They get well looked after. It's definitely easier now for them in the academies, and it's much better. But in many ways, some of the grounding we had when we came through was quite good. You know, obviously the jobs and the cleaning boots, but sort of the management and the staff could be really harsh, if I'm honest. And I think that environment was sort of encouraged, that sort of laddish environment of being
brutal.
It was brutal, at times. But you know, similar to school. You know, school can be a difficult place. But yeah, I mean, obviously with the way I looked and stuff, you know, it was one of those where, you know, you could feel it. But it gave me, you know, that kind of abuse or, you know, stick or banter, people call it, I suppose. That sort of it stood me in good stead for the terraces. You know, there's no hiding place on a football pitch. You know, as soon as I walked out on the pitch and people didn't know that I could play. I mean, it's all right when I was playing for Liverpool or playing for England. People had seen me play. People could see what I could do. But when I walked out on the football pitch for QPR, I remember a game away. I always talk about this game, but away at Gillingham, and I got absolute abuse just for the way I looked. And my dad was watching the crowd. He couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, it was harsh. But I think that kind of grounding of maybe the youth team and stuff, if I hadn't had that, then, you know, I think there's plenty of people that would have gone under maybe. But I think that kind of grounding helped me and overcome that. And I rather than going under, I'll be like, I'm going to show these people.
Have you boys seen people crumble at youth team level because of
you
know, the banter, as you say?
Listen, I could 100% say, load of players that have come through have said there was probably a handful of players better than me in our dressing room that didn't go on to make it. Just because whether that was luck or just didn't get a break, but the majority of it was probably the mentality as well. And it was like a real sink or swim environment. Even when the dressing room doors shut and the jokes and the banter that goes on, some of them just was like, I'm not cut out for this.
Seriously?
Like technically I can do it, but I'm just not cut out for day to day, like this side of football.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I've seen so many people not be able to sort of cope with it, and I think it's much better now than it was. But yeah, there was definitely a sort of culture of of it being quite a harsh environment, and I'm sort of glad I had that though. But yeah, it was. I definitely saw players sort of not be able to cope with it all, and it was a shame, really.
And what do you think about the youth of today? You say it's changed.
Yeah.
Are they treated too well?
It's really different now because there's two sides of it. You've got the football side of it where they're given everything. I mean, the grass, the pitches that they train on, the kit, don't have to do jobs, don't do boots. They come in, they get given everything, analysis, the lot. But then there's the other side now where they've got a mobile phone at the palm of their hand, social media, and where it was probably when we was coming through and there was a bit of stick face to face, now a lot of it is sort of that keyboard kind of warrior sort of thing, even at that kind of young age. And these youngsters as well, they're comparing themselves to people up north at 10 and 11 because they follow them on Instagram that play for, Man City under 11s or under 12s, and they're just sticking clips on of their goals. They're like, wow, he's doing well. Whereas when we was coming through, like I knew Crouchy was good at QPR because, just
word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you knew it was going to be a tough game when you played against him. But then that was it. After that, it was forgotten about. So,
yeah, different kinds of pressure, isn't it? Young age.
Really difficult.
And how was QPR for you?
Well, that's the best thing I did. I actually started there as a 9-10-year-old. That was my local team, and I went from there. Jerry Francis went to Tottenham, took me with him. Youth team manager was Des Bulpin. Took me with him, and then Jerry went back to QPR and took me back when I was 19. And even then, I played pre-season, I did well. They signed me for 60 grand, and then
60 grand, huh?
yeah, and then I remember even then I was behind. I was probably fourth choice striker. It was Chris Kwamya, Sammy Kuyu, Rob Steiner.
Wow.
Trying to think, there was one other, and they all got injured. It was literally like. They all got injured and they were like, gonna have to put him up top.
Yeah, come on, get him out.
Honestly, you know what? I was, like I said, in training I was always good, but I just, maybe physically maybe didn't feel like I was ready. But they gave me a chance and it just flying from there, really. It was just brilliant. It was a difficult time for QPR in general because they were going through some turmoil sort of at boardroom level, and there was a lot of players on big wages, and financially we went into administration in my first season. It was a difficult season, but me personally, I did great, and went on to Portsmouth at the end of the year.
You talk about we've had a few clubs. Your move from, was it Portsmouth to Villa?
Yeah.
So what was the hardest one or the most pressured one? Was it the Villa transfer, because that was a big one at the start, or was it the second one going from Southampton to Liverpool, because they're both quite a big jump?
Yeah,
Did you realise how big Villa was when you signed there?
Probably not.
Yeah.
The size of the club was really sort of opened my eyes. There was a couple of things, like the size of the club from when I went from Southampton to Liverpool, and the same sort of thing from Portsmouth to Villa. Villa's a huge club.
Yeah.
You played there yourself. Yeah. Honestly, I think what helped me was I had a really good season at QPR. I think I scored 21 goals for Portsmouth, did really well, and then signed at Villa. And when I look back at that dressing room, it was a bit of a baptism of fire. It was it was Peter Schmeichel in goal. It was Ronnie Johnson, like Ian Taylor, Paul Merson, Dion Dublin, David Ginola. There was some big names, in that dressing room, big characters. So I was in there straight away. I was like, this is different now. But yeah, it was. Same sort of thing. It was just that. My one regret out of my whole career really was not really making a success of it at Villa. But I felt like Graham Taylor took a huge chance on me. Paid a lot of money for me, and I never really felt like I sort of paid it back. that faith he had in me.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to Villa Park with Liverpool, and I was playing for England at the time, playing for Liverpool, and just before he died, Graham Taylor, and I remember him running down. He was doing like the commentary from, and he ran down after the game, and he said like, "I knew you'd do it." And
that must have been well nice.
I was special because I felt like I'd let him down a little bit. Like I went to Villa and I never really did it. It wasn't really, I came in and I did okay, but there was probably better options at the time. Playing Dion Dublin, I think he played, and Derrards for Sell was on fire. I never really got in, but that was obviously a special moment because he knew he believed in me and he knew I'd do it. It just wasn't to be while he was in charge.
You mentioned Graham Taylor there. You played under loads and loads of managers. Who's been the one you've gone, yeah, I love him?
Well, the obvious one's Harry, innit? I mean, he's bought and sold me a few times as well. But no, I think certainly. Jerry gave me my debut. I mentioned Graham Taylor with with the faith he had in me. So yeah, there's lots of good ones. Trying to think there, and obviously Southampton. Harry came in. Rafa signed me for one of the greatest clubs in the world. And then playing with England with Sven and Fabio Capello. There's been some great managers. Tony Pulis, I loved working with as well. Out of all of them, I think there's a little bit of each of them that I'd like to sort of take with me. Like they've had huge influences on me. But with Harry, it was just simply enough. He would get the best out of me, whether I was playing for Dagenham and Redbridge or Real Madrid. I just feel like he knows people and he plays them in their best position, and he simplifies people's games, and he makes you believe that you are probably even better than you are.
How does he do that?
It just literally it's just so simple. I mean, I just think there's a lot of managers are very, very aloof. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know if they rate you. And some players react really well off that. I remember Rafa being really sort of standoffish, like you just never knew what he was thinking. If you had no idea if you're going to play on the Saturday, whether he liked you or not. And I remember Stevie just his game elevated to a different level in that environment. Yeah. It was like he won Player of the Year that year. I think he scored 21 goals from right midfield. Won the PFA Player of the Year. Most of it was trying to get a well done off Rafa.
That's mad, isn't it? You always feel like you've got something to prove, or you just.
Well, he's the type of person that just rises to that. You know what I mean? It's like, right, I'm going to show him.
But some people could just go, I'm not doing this. He's not saying a word to me.
Exactly. And I think nowadays a lot of players would. They'd be like, not having him. Whereas Stevie, we all know what kind of player and person he is. Him not saying anything to him, sometimes taking him off, and he'd be like, and he would be like that, right? I'm going to show him every day, and I think that got the best out of him. I found it. I did well under him, but if I was going to choose a sort of manager, then I would say Harry, only because I just liked working for him, and that's not to say I didn't like working for Rafa, because I loved it. We had a great team, and I had the best years of my life there. So, but yeah, as a manager and someone that I loved working for, it'd be Harry.
What a bloke as well.
What about Southampton? Your time down there, because that was then the big stepping stone, was it then to the big move to Liverpool? What did it feel like when you went to Southampton? Was that then a real make or break time, thinking
it was,
this, I need to sort of get back on track now?
Yeah, you're spot on what you're saying. I can't leave out. I had a loan spell at Norwich, right? So I was at Villa, not really doing it. I had a loan spell at Norwich. I went down to the Championship. I had 3 months there. They signed me, Kevin Harper, and Darren Huckabee on loan, and we just sort of took them to the next level. And I just so much confidence down there. We won the league. They gave me I only did 3 months down there. They gave me a Championship winners medal.
No way.
Yeah. Because I think honestly, because it's a proper club. That honestly, I loved it. I loved playing at Carrow Road. Just enjoyed it. Just enjoyed my football again. Got a smile back on my face. Went back. David O'Leary was the manager then in charge of Villa, and he just never really fancied me. And I thought, right, I have to move on. I'm playing well now, and I'm not in the team. I'm ready for the Premier League. And then thankfully it was Paul Sturrock was manager of Southampton, gave me a lifeline really. And I thought, if this doesn't go well, I'm a championship player. You know,
Are you honestly thinking like that?
This is my mindset now. And I'm thinking, you know, I need to hit the ground running. Bang! I wasn't in the team. He got sacked. Paul Sturrock. Steve Wigley took over. So, bear in mind, the start of the season before I go to Liverpool. I'm not in the team at Southampton. 2 kids ahead of me, Dexter Blackstock and Leon Best, and I'm thinking, where am I going from here? You know what I mean? And then we're having a bit of a nightmare as a team. Steve Wigley gets sacked, then Harry comes in, and goes, "Why aren't you playing?" I said, "I don't know." And he says, he literally said it like that. He said, "Why are you not playing?" He said, "You and Kevin Phillips, and you're not. Why are you 2 not playing?"
To be fair, he's got a point.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, it was honestly, but like, it's what was happening, and I couldn't understand it, and Harry couldn't when he came in. But that sort of, he just went, "It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You 2 be my front 2 rest of the season, 100%." And then from Christmas to the end of the season, I scored 16 goals.
Wow.
I was on fire,
Yeah.
and just and then, I went to Liverpool. So I mean, it was that moment at Southampton and Norwich, I have to say, was pivotal in me being here now, otherwise, because I was really unsure where it was going to go.
So when you're at Southampton, playing in the FA Cup, you score a last-minute penalty against your rivals, Portsmouth, who you played for.
Yeah, that was a big game.
Yeah.
Man. I remember it well.
What was that like?
Well, it was the whole thing around it was like a cauldron. We hadn't played against each other for a while. It was at St Mary's, but I'd played for Portsmouth. Nigel Quasi had played for Portsmouth, and Harry had just come to Southampton, and it was intense. And in the FA Cup, obviously they have the whole end, don't they?
Yeah.
So you can hear them, and the place was. But I remember on one of Harry's first days, like Judas was written on the walls of the Marchwood training ground at Southampton, and it was a big thing really. And then we drew each other in the cup, and I remember Harry kind of, thank God it was at St Mary's anyway, right? So I always remember we were drawing, and then it was 90th minute, we got a pen, and I picked the ball up. And
was you designated taker?
No, I don't know. I don't think I was. No, but I don't know why. I just
got some balls in you.
I felt confident.
Wow.
Yeah, I just felt. But then I had the ball and I looked over at Harry and he was going. No. He was going.
What are you doing?
I told you before, Harry can be loads of confidence, mate. It was in that day. He was going no. And I remember having the ball turned. I was like, do you know what? I'm taking it. So I sort of disobeyed him, right? And.
Pressure.
I stuck it away, thankfully, and there was obviously no replay for that part. I remember as I run it, and Harry's just to give me the biggest hug you've ever seen in your life, and he said, "I thought we were going back to Fratton Park."
Could you imagine that? That would have been horrible, wouldn't
Because
it?
that is a cauldron as well, Fratton Park. Wow.
Yes, it was just and it was an intense goal. It was an intense game, but. I mean, when I look back at that now, probably being an older sort of person, I think, what was I doing? Just let someone else take the pen. But at the time, it's just the buzz of the game. Felt like I was having a good game and managed to stick it away in.
Going on rivalries there, like the Pompey Southampton one, you obviously went on to go in one of the biggest ones again, Liverpool Everton. I mean, what was that like? Not necessarily your first one, because I can imagine they're all the same. But what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I played in some big derbies. Even the Villa Birmingham one. I don't know if you played in that one.
Spurs Arsenal.
Spurs
You've
Arsenal.
done a lot.
Yeah, obviously Liverpool Man United is like one of the biggest games as well. But that South Coast one was big. But the Villa Birmingham, the atmosphere in that game, because that hadn't been played for a long time. I don't know if you remember the game. I played in a game where Dion Dublin headbutted Robbie Savage. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that. And the one where Peter Enkelman let the ball go under his foot, that was at St Andrews.
Were you playing that?
I was involved in both of those.
Wow.
Yeah, and the atmosphere in those games were big games. But then you play in the Merseyside derby. That was. I remember my first one at Goodison. They're amazing at Goodison because it was the atmosphere was electric. It was pure hatred and stuff. And I remember scoring in that one. That was a big.
If you had to pick one of the games you just said there, the North London derby, the South Coast, whatever the Midlands one, Liverpool obviously you got the Man U, or What would you say one that sticks out as being real needle between fans, clubs, players?
Well, like obviously the whole thing with Manchester and Liverpool is you know, I married a Scouser, so I know it well. You know, my mum's from Manchester, believe it or not. So I know that rivalry well. I mean, it's, you know, and they're two of the most successful clubs in British history. So, yeah, that's a huge game. But it doesn't matter. It's all about where you are. Yeah. And I think if you're living on the south coast, that derby, it's no bigger derby. And then the Birmingham one was I don't think I've ever been involved in an atmosphere like that because they hadn't played for so long.
Can you feel it like the proper,
mate, honestly.
like the hate?
And also, like I remember I played in some of them, but then I've been on the bench for some of them, and you can probably take it in a bit more when you're on the bench. And I remember when Gary Neville ran and done that so I'm warming up in front of the Liverpool fans at that end of the Old Trafford. And he ran the whole length. I remember watching him. And no one else could see it really till after, because I said to the lads, "Did you see Gary Neville?" And they were like, "No," because no one really took it in.
Wow.
He ran all the way, and it was like he was doing it to me, because I was like, there you go.
Leave it out, guys.
I was going, what have I done? And then, yeah, amazing. But that passionate rivalry. And then obviously with the Birmingham one, there was some, I mean, that whole thing bored. Dion Dublin, you're not the nicest fella in the world. I've never seen him, you know, raise a fist to anyone, right? He was just bang, headbutt Robbie Savage. It was carnage. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going around the question here, like, what's the biggest derby? But it's the one you're involved in, I think.
And then you mentioned there Liverpool. What a move.
I mean, I just watched them. I'd got in the England squad just at the back end at Southampton. And I remember we went to USA tour. I think we played in New York and Chicago. We had 2 games, Colombia and USA. And I was out there, and I remember we had a day off, and it was the Champions League final in Istanbul. And me and Joe Cole were watching it in this like bar. Coffee shop, sorry. And we'd gone out. We were having a coffee, and
just a good few coffees.
A couple of coffees, and then
about 10 coffees deep.
Really strong ones.
As we walked back to the hotel, we got back, and I think it was 3-2. And I remember watching it back at the hotel, 3-3 and all that. And I was thinking, and then obviously the scenes the next day. You know, Liverpool bring the trophy home, this and that. Anyway, you know, a week later, I'm watching that game. I just dream. I don't think that anything of, you know, me going to Liverpool. It was,
no inkling at all.
No clue. You know, I was watching that game, going, "Wow, that's incredible! Imagine playing for a club like that." And then a week later, I get a call, just, you know, like, Rafa's interested, and you know, he'd like you to sign. And that moment, and then going up there was, you know, when you walk in. I mean, I didn't go to Melwood first. I went to Anfield to get things sorted. And all the paperwork was going on, and I think it was Rick Parry, the chief exec, said, "Do you want to look round?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a look round."
Go on, then. Go on, then.
I felt like a kid on the tour, you know what I mean? It was like...
Be a little cap on.
Yeah, a little cap. Dad, it's Kenny Dalglish. Honestly, it was me and my dad, honestly. And it was just... And obviously the trophy was there from 2005, which is one of the best finals that you've ever seen.
The best.
Just incredible, you know, walking around at, you know, halls, the pictures on the walls of all the greats that have walked that, you know, in that stadium, and the history of the club, you know, walking out on the pitch and seeing the Kop, things like that, just a different level. But then with that sort of size of the club comes the, you know, the Goldfish Bowl and the magnifying glass, if you want, on everything you do, really. And that's, I wasn't ready for that.
Did you feel the pressure?
Yeah, well, listen, you know, I did. I felt I was confident by now, though. You know, I'd done well in the Premier League and playing for England. I had a good debut in the Giants Stadium, believe it or not, New York. Yeah. That was my debut. The Giants.
Amazing.
But I played well. And Michael Owen got a hat-trick. I set a couple of his goals up. And I felt confident. So going to Liverpool, I wasn't overawed by it. And I went to training, and the level was definitely cranked up to what I'd been used to, but I thrived off it. I loved it straight away. The only problem was I couldn't buy a goal.
So going on from that, so you haven't scored for a while. Now I'm gonna say 2 words. I want to know if this rings a bell. Hey Jude.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, helped me massively.
So tell the story about this. So because you're saying this was a massive part of the fans really getting behind you.
Honestly,
wasn't
it was. And this sounds ridiculous, but you know, lots of fans of football clubs now would not tolerate a striker, you know, who doesn't score for, I think it's like 18 games, right? So I've just signed 18 games. They've just won the Champions League. You know, most clubs would be like, you know, what? You'd have been gone after 8, 9. You know, the fans you'd be getting booed, you'd be out. You know, the management wouldn't stick by you, your teammates maybe wouldn't stick by you. But that's why of Liverpool, I honestly have to thank the supporters, that everyone, you know, because they did stick behind me, and then we did have good days, and I did play well. But you know, that was allowed to happen by the way the fans were with me, really. And I think everyone could see that I was playing well. It just wasn't really happening. Rafa was asking me to play a slightly different role, and I was doing anything he said because, well, you know, I was playing for Liverpool. But yeah, with the Hey Jude thing came about. I mean, Cara said to me, "Look, you haven't scored. He said, I'm taking you to my local
coffee shop."
Local coffee shop. Went to this pub, the Solly, right? I'll always remember it. And he took me there, and we had a few beers. I'm not joking. This place was packed, full of Everton, Liverpool fans. It was carnage in there. And anyway, everyone started getting up karaoke. I thought, well, I'll keep my head down here. I'll just carry on, drink my wine. You know, I just had another game where I had the squad. I thought, Cara, I need to keep my head down here.
Giving it large on the
anyway,
stage.
Honestly. Anyway, Cara gets up with his dad. I'm thinking, he's gone for it here. You know, like, does this stuff? I'm thinking, I'm trying to keep my head down. And anyway, Cara's up, sang a song with his dad, brilliant. And Cara was like, right, you're up next. And I said, no, I don't think this is for me. He said, look, everyone's been up there. We've had Diddy Man up there. Michael Owen's done a song before. You know, like all the boys, everyone who comes in here does a song. That's what we do. I said, all right. So I've gone through. I'm going, what's going to be a crowd pleaser? Like the Beatles and Liverpool. Well, that might be all right. Hey Jude, I've gone for. I've got on stage. I'm not joking. The place it went off. I felt like I was selling out Wembley Arena. So it was amazing. It was. Remember, one fella was swinging off the chandelier, right? I'm going na 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 na, and it went on. You know when the music stops and you're still going na. Honestly,
don't worry about the goals, lad.
Honestly, I was like, at first I was nervous. Yeah. By the end, you couldn't get me off. I was all over it. Dropped the mic, the place erupted. It was one of the best moments, honestly. It was amazing. Got off. I remember. I think I got passed down by a few of the lads, and went back to my chair. Everyone went back in. Honestly, from that day, everywhere I went was Hey Jude. It was like, you know, Liverpool's a city, but it's a village. You know, people know what's going on, and everywhere I went, people were saying Hey Jude in the Solly, Hey Jude, Hey Jude. And the security boys, I remember coming into training, Melwood probably on the Monday, and all the security boys were like, Hey Jude. And honestly, from then I think, and then you know, probably I got a song. It was, and the fans really took to me because it just spread a bit, and then they could see how hard I was working. On the pitch, and it wasn't quite going for me. And I think that sort of it was like us against the world, if you know what I mean. Which is definitely, you know, something that I noticed in Liverpool in general. You know, like if people have a go at them, they stick together more than anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think that I felt a part of that. And you know, all the outside press, you know, people in newspapers, on whatever it was on television, all criticising me, but I felt like I was in a bubble in Liverpool, and I felt like all the fans, felt the players, and I felt the staff, everyone was sort of with me. So when I scored, I think you could see the emotion, certainly from me, but the players and also the fans, you could see sort of the relief of them, really. And then, you know, thank God I went on a run of scoring goals, and I'd like to think my time there was good.
Did you boys ever take any notice of the outside, like the media and the publications? 'Cause I would find that hard if, like, someone's like, week in, week out saying, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, poor season. I think that would, I mean, I never know because I'm not a professional footballer, but I think it would get to me.
It kind of drove me on. certain times of my career when that happened, it gave me like a platform to go, no, I'm not having that. Like, you know, and it would pretty similar to like we was about Gerrard earlier on, to that sort of driving mechanism. That was my motto all the way along in terms of sort of always trying to prove people wrong or get one over on them. So, it was. It never sort of got on me. Whereas now, I mean, it's brutal now. It's all about sort of social media, and it could be instant. You can get on a team coach now because you have to wait till the papers the next morning, wouldn't you? Have to wake up on a Sunday, go and get the news of the world or whatever
now
paper
you just
it
go
is.
on Twitter and go,
Yeah.
oh, right.
But that was certainly playing for England. I felt at times that sort of pressure sort of held us back a bit. But our team was a joke. I mean, 2006 was, you know, every single player's a household name for good reason. You know, had incredible careers. But yeah, for whatever reason, it didn't really work. But there was definitely a huge pressure on that team, and I did feel it myself. In some ways, I felt like I had to score in every game that I played with England because there was always people there to say he shouldn't be playing for England. You know what I mean? So I had to constantly be on my game to be a part of it. And I knew, listen, I was in that squad. I was behind Rooney and Owen, 100%. But the way
your stats were ridiculously good.
Listen, I scored goals for England, and I always played well. I felt, but Rooney and Owen are better footballers than me, right? At that time, I'm a realist, right? So I'm looking at them and I'm going, I'm just going to be the best behind them, right? So as long as I'm better than everyone else, who's English at that time, I'm going to get games because they had their injury problems. You know, Michael Owen had his injury problems and Rooney did at major tournaments and things like that. So I knew that as long as I was ready all the time, that I would get a fair share of games. And listen, if Rooney and Owen had been fit for all 42 games that all 42 caps that I had, I'd have got none. I'll be honest. I might have come off the bench and had an influence, but I knew that they wouldn't be. So I pushed myself and I made sure that I was in squads and I was better than sort of Defoe or in better form than Darren Bent or whoever was Dean Ashton came in. Whoever was sort of behind it, I wanted to. And then of course there were times where they were just on fire and they played ahead of me, but that was always my goal.
That's some mindset to have that. It's pretty similar to like a sub goalkeeper, isn't it? In terms of they're always going to play, but they've got to be on it always and push the number ones, but always be ready in case. Yeah. But with Crouchy with England, I mean the stats we said there is just like unbelievable, and it must have been a case for you as well where you knew that you was always going to kind of get a shot in terms of in games because whether they need a goal, they can throw you on to just cause havoc, or if the game's going against them, that you can come on to be sort of that pivotal role where it can come up to you, where you can lay it off, which is what you do, and get in the box after.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like with England and in the Champions League, funny enough, like it was sort of, I felt like I was going to score in every match. I honestly did.
It's powerful, that.
Honestly, but like whereas in the Championship, or I found it harder at times. Like bizarre. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I was going into games and I'm thinking I'm going to score in this 100%. And like Champions League games and internationally as well. If you think about it, like I had David Beckham crossing on the right. I had Joe Cole on the left. I had Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard behind me. I had Rooney in the hole.
Not bad ammo, is it?
I've got Gary Neville, great delivery as well. Ashley Cole. I was going into games going, just get in the box. Yeah. Like literally. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to score in every match here. And even like Champions League wise, playing for Liverpool, same thing really. Dirk Kuyt around me, Jermaine Pennant on the right. Harry Kewell on the left, Steve Finnan created so much for me. Even Tottenham as well, Bale on the left, right? Aaron Lennon on the right, Van der Vaart behind, you know what I mean? We've got Luka Modric in midfield. Amazing. I'm just thinking, look, just get in the box. You're going to get, you'll be found. Yeah. And also defenders, I felt, internationally and Champions League wise, didn't really know how to, they didn't come up against players like me, you know what I mean? It was like, they were just like, often I'd have two men around me and someone else would be free, or they wouldn't know how to cope with me, and I'd find it easier.
But your first touch was immaculate. It
I was
wasn't
gonna
just
say that.
because you're tall.
No,
Like,
I'm not saying
no.
that.
I was going to say that.
Do you think people did think that? Oh, he's just a big guy.
Yeah, because you think he's saying here, like, just get in the box. That's not just about getting balls like high in the box as him. Like, because you talk about the goal against Arsenal,
Movement.
the one where he scored the hat trick, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Where he's just gone bang, left foot, right foot, and then dinged it. I mean, the feet was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that was where I always felt that, like, in all honesty, like heading and stuff like that, like I wasn't natural at it. I had to work at that so much because I would always have good ability. I always felt that I could, control the ball. I'd always be decent on the floor, but I had to work at my heading because I was 6'7". I was getting beat by, when I was a kid, I was getting beat by kids, a lot smaller than me, because I never really had to jump. And then obviously you get to, Premier League level, of course you got to jump. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's a threat. So I had to work at that, but I always felt confident in my ability, and I think that's why I succeeded with England and Liverpool, because I had that threat aerially and stuff like that, but I could still, link play up and, keep hold of the ball is so important at that level.
Because we're talking about that, because like people like Milan Mandaric saying, I'm not paying this amount of money for a basketball player. It's like, he's not a basketball player.
No,
but that was...
Are you a good...
I was terrible, actually. I remember at school, a few of the lads tried to get me in the team and that, because they were like, they watched me, walking through,
up to the big
through
man.
the playground. And I was like, I'm not interested in basketball, mate. And they were like, no, you come on, just like... I had one session, they went, yeah. Stick to football, mate. I was useless. Honestly, no, not for me. With Milan, that was the classic, preconception.
Yeah.
I was at QPR at the time. I don't think he's watching many QPR games, and they probably showed him a picture or whatever, and he's gone no, which is the
so wrong.
The
wrong.
But that is the misconception that I 100%. I mean, no, let's be honest. No footballer looks like me before or since. Let's be honest, right? No. So if you saw a picture of me, you might go.
I'm trying to think now.
There's none. There is none. Is
I
there?
mean, there is. I don't think there is. But you know what? I feel proud of that. I feel really proud of the fact that, I don't look like a footballer, but I played like one. So I feel proud of it.
Yeah, and you won loads of stuff. FA Cup.
Yeah, the whole run to the final was brilliant. Beating United at Anfield. We smashed Birmingham City. Beat Chelsea, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Sorry, lads.
You're a Chelsea fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I was Peter after Peter Osgood, believe it or not. If you knew that, yeah. I had a rabbit called Kerry Dixon.
Did you? I remember you telling me.
Really?
I was a ball boy at
Kerry Dixon,
at Chelsea.
what a player.
I was a ball boy at Chelsea. When you needed to be a ball boy, when the balls were going underneath cars and stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
What was it like? So FA Cup final day. I've not been lucky enough to.
Yeah.
I've gone to the FA Cup finals as a fan, but as a player, when you open your eyes the morning of an FA Cup final, what does that feel like?
Yeah, that is. I mean, it was really special, and I was really taking it in because it was my first final, and I didn't let any sort of moment pass really. I was like a fan really, waking up going, I'm playing. I was starting as well.
You knew that before.
I knew that. In the morning I knew that.
Right,
Rafa was always guarded with his team, but the only shame was it wasn't here. Wasn't at Wembley.
Yeah.
It was at Cardiff while it was getting built in 2006. But we had a great run and we were confident. We beating Chelsea at Old Trafford, and then we went to Cardiff. And in many ways, it felt like not the game, not that was the final, but you felt, or most people felt, that the Chelsea-Liverpool game, whoever won that would win it. And we came through it, and then we had a scare, let's be honest, in the final, real scare.
Yeah. So did you think, was there a moment where you was like...
I was worried. I thought we'd thrown this away. Half-time there was a big talking to at half-time. From
the manager, or from
Stevie, Cara, the usual voices really in the dressing room going. And I always remember it. And one of the team talks was, I don't know if you remember in the semi-final at West Ham, Pardew dancing, and Anton Ferdinand dancing, and Ria Coke and them boys. I always remember it. At half-time, someone said, we don't want to see these dancing around the cup.
Who wants to see Pardew dancing?
No one wants to see Pardew throwing shapes again.
Wow.
And everyone went, come on!
Hey, dude.
Who needs tactics when you can just say that?
Rolled everyone up, because honestly, that would have hurt big time. You know,
What, seeing Pardew dance?
just it doesn't matter who it is. Just seeing someone, you know, with the cup, you know, dancing around, and
That's not you.
it wasn't us.
And then going back to the Stevie G goal.
He was just ridiculous, that game, wasn't he?
Well, that season, honestly. I mean, that season in general, we relied on him so many. I mean, even in, you know, the Champions League in Istanbul, you know, like how much did they rely on the Olympiacos goal? You know, the goal to get them back in the final, and again the season after. I mean, it was a pleasure to sort of be around him at that time, and the goals were just. I look at my medal at home sometimes, and I do think. Maybe I should have given it to Stevie. He was, honestly, I mean, we were dead and buried.
Yeah.
And I remember managing to nod the first one down somehow, and then he had, I think, 25 yards out, bang. And then the second one, he had cramp. I remember him being down for a bit. And I'd come off by then, and there was a big furore on the bench, like, right, and there was a sub getting ready, and I'm in an iron about taking him off. Picked himself up, and the ball sort of like, he just ran onto it and hit this thing. Bearing in mind, I reckon it was 30 seconds before, he'd been down with cramp. Then he hit this shot, you know, we were right behind it, and you just knew it was in from the moment he hit it. And incredible player, and you know, won us that FA Cup. And
even his penalty in the shootout was just so nonchalant. Just sort of run up and just lace one, top bins. So that was in Cardiff. What was the journey back like?
Honestly, then obviously this when we won
we need to get some footage to see if they were dancing around with the FA Cup.
He was honestly,
surely doing A Jude, weren't you?
Oh, I've got pictures. I've got a few pictures at home. I remember being. It was a long evening, but I started winning it. But winning it, yeah, I mean, I remember looking up, holding the cup in my hand, right, and I'm thinking all the history behind this cup, right, I've got it in my hand. It's the oldest football trophy in the world,
legendary.
right? So I'm holding it down here like this because I'm cool, because I hold it down like that.
That's how Crouchy rolls.
That's how I roll, I hold it down like that. And then I remember spotting my dad and thinking about sort of, you know, everything that we'd been through, you know, like right from the moment, you know, when you're first start playing football to, you know, we used to walk under the Hanger Lane flyover through Alperton to come to games at Wembley and stuff like that. And I know it wasn't at Wembley, but that was the home of the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
We were there, and I held it up, and it's emotional, you know. You see your dad in the crowd, you think of all the stuff you've been through, all the Tuesday nights, the Thursday nights, going around the North Circular trying to get me to Tottenham in the ball court.
The night in Gillingham when he's
the night in Gillingham when he's had a fight, with someone because because I'm getting abused, you know, all the sort of bad things, or all the sort of sweat and tears that's taken you to. And listen, there's players that have won far more than me, but to me that was the day where it sort of everything went, you know, wow, we've done it basically. And emotional. And then I remember having a quick beer with him after. He was buzzing, couldn't believe it, you know. And then he came back round here and went out with his mates, and I went back to Liverpool, went to Alma de Cuba, and it was the after party upstairs, and all the fans were downstairs.
Oh, incredible!
And we had the cup up there, and all the fans were singing songs, and we just had a few beers up there. And remember, we each of us went and got the cup and showed it to the fans each time, and it was it was a great night. I got some great photos of it, and just great memories. It's why you're in football. I mean, there's a few things that thankfully went right that in my career when I look back at it. That was definitely one of them. Like where it could have gone so wrong, and I would have regretted it forever. Another one was here. No, it wasn't. It was at Old Trafford. Sorry, but it was for England. And I'd scored 2 goals, and then I tried to dink a penalty and put it over
Jamaica,
the top.
wasn't it?
Jamaica, right? Yeah. On a hat trick. I've only got 1 hat trick for England, and I tried to dink a penalty and put it over. I've never, honestly. And then I thought, you know, what idiot. Thankfully, I got it. I scored another one, but that and the FA Cup would have really wrangled with me. And the Champions League final in 2007. obviously we didn't win that. They're the three. Thankfully, two of them were all right. But obviously, the third one was the killer.
When you took that penalty and it went over, you were like, what was that sort of feeling?
When you're just, everything you touched was just going right. Like one of those games where I just playing really well. I honestly, I just was playing great. Got a couple of goals, a couple of robots came out, and then and then the pen comes. Yeah. And I'm just full of confidence.
Invincible.
I've scored 2 here. I'm just going to dink him now, right? So, and firstly, I did send him. He went, but I went high into the Stretford end. And,
into the
it was really embarrassing. And I remember coming off the pitch, and I've got the ball at home, and all the lads have signed it. Every single person's wrote pen, no, like all this, all the abuse about the pen was on the ball. Yeah. I remember Steve McLaren pulled me after. He was the assistant to Sven, and he said, "Don't ever do that again. Like you're playing for England, you're representing your country, and taking the piss." That's when it, when you're in the sort of moment of the game and your confidence is just streaming through you, and you think you can do anything. That was a wake-up call. It was just like, remember where you are.
And at Stoke, you two must have had a right laugh.
I don't think I've had as many clubs as Crouchy, but I've had a few. But for me, I wasn't there long. I was only there 18 months at Stoke. That was the best dressing room I had. It was so good. It was so good. I mean, you just felt like all together, and there was the banter every day. Characters, the trips, there was a real togetherness.
Good golf school there as well, I hear.
Good golf school.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, when I signed there, as Sis was saying, honestly, the dressing room was brilliant, and it was amazing. We added a sprinkle of quality each year, and we finished in the top 10 3 years on the spin, and. Flying, and it just went too far the other way. We went from having the best character. We'd lose 1 or 2 each year and replace them with 1 or 2 not as good characters, shall we say?
Right.
And that's just how it sort of ended up, going down. And it was a real shame because we went from the best dressing room to one of the worst. And it's a real shame because the club's fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know when they look at Crouch, they look at him being at Liverpool and Spurs, but Stoke was your longest serving club, wasn't it? 6 years, was it?
7 years, I think. 6.5 years, yeah.
Wow.
I loved it, and also when I went through the door there, I didn't want to go at first. I'm at Tottenham, right, and I was living in London where I sort of grew up, and I was happy, and I had 2 years left on my contract, and I remember. Daniel Levy and Harry said that they're bringing Adebayor in, and there wasn't room for both of us, and they'd had a bid for me and Wilson Palacios, and it was a lot of money, for both of us. So we ended up going. It wasn't, I wanted to stay at Tottenham. We were getting in the Champions League, playing, it was. But then having gone there, it was the best thing I ever did. It was the best club for me at that age. Tony Pulis was fantastic with me, and I loved the whole stigma of Stoke in general. Yeah. I would watch Arsenal get off the bus and just go, and you could see the life drain out of them, and it just used to make me laugh.
Did you really see stuff like that?
You could see it. Honestly, you could see it.
That was, again, when I was there, I remember the week building up to an Arsenal game, and I remember being on the spin bike, and Shawcross was next to me, and I was like, tough game this week. He didn't batter an eye. He looked forward. He just went, we'll beat these. Because he just knew that it was just one of them games where, with an Arsenal team coming, he was like, no, we've got these. It's mad how he's seen where Crouchy goes, he knows he's going to score in certain games. You just have games where you just know that you just got the upper hand.
Yeah, definitely. And you could see, certain teams get off the bus and not want to be there. You know what I mean? And
it's absolutely blowing a gale. That's why the corner flag's doing this.
Is that why? Do you think because of the weather and stuff, and just where the stadium is?
The whole thing. I mean, listen. I remember. There was Rory's throw-ins coming in right on a Tuesday night. The pitch, the grass was that long. I always remember looking at Aaron Ramsey, and he looked at me. I remember one day, Aaron Ramsey, right? So the pitch, I reckon the turf must have been up. You couldn't see his boots. And I remember him looking at me and going like, about the pitch, and I just burst out laughing. It was like,
Sorry, mate.
chance we got. He was punching it like as fast as he could to get it 10 yards.
Like a pitching wedge.
He had to dink it over. Yeah, amazing. And then obviously the boards went back, you know, with the ball boys with the you know, drying the ball, Rory coming in, me, Shawcross, Hoof, Kevin Jones all just piling in on the keeper. It was not the most graceful way of playing football. But what are you going to do if we go toe to toe with Arsenal in a footballing match, get beat 3 or 4? You know I think there's many ways to win a football match, and I honestly I like being a part of. Thankfully, I've been a part of lots of different styles of play, and I've enjoyed all of them.
Did you become a leader in the change room as well towards the end of your career because of, you know, you've seen with like Stevie G and going through the ranks? Did you become more of a voice?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. I mean, listen, I'm always quite relaxed. You know, I'm like quite a laid back guy. Yeah. You know, so it's not as if, you know, I wasn't the type of character like Stevie. Do you know what I mean? Like no. To be a leader like that. But what I was is that I realised that when you sort of become an older player and you know, having been in sort of England dressing rooms or played in big games, that you do have a responsibility to younger players, don't you? I mean, Sids was very good. I mean, you know, he was always like a captain kind of material. Yeah. But for me, I had to sort of work on that and go like, right, now I need to sort of set an example a bit more.
Crouchy is one of them, but when he spoke, it had a lot of weight behind it because the career that he's had, the dressing rooms that he's been at, and then when someone doesn't speak a lot, but when they do speak, and you take notice of it, whereas some people can just waste a bit of air and it's just noise. It just becomes noise in the dressing room. Whereas when someone like him, if he had to say something, it would be to the point and it would be, you know, abrupt, and the lads would take it on board.
Absolutely. And what was the big man like to play with?
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. We first played together at England under 21s, I think it was, under Platty. And then, yeah, in terms of football-wise on the pitch, again, the stigma of him being a big man and just like chest, get it down, like you could fizz, like smash balls at him and he would literally just go bang. I mean, shooting practices, anything, volleys, like taking a touch, half volleys, he had like left and right foot, like literally the whole package. And it's no surprise that he's gone on and had the career that he did at, you know, some of the top clubs in world football as well. And
when you came to retire, how hard was that for you?
Not that hard, to be honest. Surprisingly,
you had some career, mate. You strung it out a lot, didn't you?
Honestly, I mean, I was 38. You know, I look at, I feel people like Sids, you know, like who maybe you could have played on, you know, but like I feel like me personally, I've been totally blessed with. I retired when I could have gone on. You know, I could have played on if I wanted to. If I wanted to drag it out for another few years. I could have done. My body felt okay. You know, I look at, you know, like Sid's career was not cut short because you had a great career, but I'm talking about, you know, you wasn't on your own terms really. Yeah, you know. Yeah. I felt like I retired on my own terms. You know, I said right, I'm done now. But I look at, you know, some players, Ledley King, you know, players that retired too early. And the way I look at my career is like I was lucky to do the things I did.
You create your own luck.
And yeah, definitely, I worked hard to get there, definitely. But I was lucky with regards to injuries. And the way I always looked at it, the way if you don't have muscles, you can't tear them. And there's a lot to be said for that. These players in the gym every week.
Exactly.
It won't last too far. Listen, hey,
when I was at Stoke, right, it was the gym overlooked the training pitches, and you was injured for a little while, not long, but a couple of weeks, and we were doing the warm up, right, and there was Crouchy, I think, with like a big barbell. He was trying to do some exercises, and we was going around, and the whole squad stopped and was on the floor, like it just looked like a big praying mantis, just like doing something in the gym.
Powerlifting. But you know what, right? Listen, it was oh God, it's tickled me that. I tried everything. Like if you're thinking, like I was talking about my body holding me back, I knew I had the ability to make it. Whether as a young player, I was on creatine. I was doing weights. I was doing weight gain stuff. You know, protein shakes. I left no stone unturned. You know, I was doing everything as a young boy to get bigger, to get stronger. You know, sprint training, the whole lot, right? You know, it wasn't as if I just didn't fancy the gym.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I did. I tried everything. And then it got to a stage where I tried it right up into Villa, everything. Got to Liverpool and I was squatting every day, doing loads of stuff. And I kept finding myself getting injuries. And I'm thinking, like, so I had to sort of weigh up, you know, what do I want to be a footballer or do I want to, you know, or do I want to have these injuries? You know, I felt like I'd rather be on. So I think, honestly, if you went through my career, I don't think I missed. I don't reckon I missed more than 2 weeks of training, let alone matches, in 20 years. Honestly.
Wow.
And listen, everyone's different. I found it difficult to sort of do the squats and then go out training because I was not tearing hamstrings, but I was finding little niggles, and by the end I knew my body. So like certainly when I was at Stoke, I signed at Stoke when I was 30.
Yeah.
I knew my body by then, and the fitness coach would be like, right, you need to do this and that. No, I said I don't need to do that actually. And
How good's that?
and then, honestly, and then he'd go, well, yeah, you know, and I'd go like, yeah, that's fine, you can make me do that, but then, you know, I might struggle the weekend. So I knew my body, and I'd go in there and I'd do my own sort of body weight stuff, but I wouldn't be lifting silly weights, and I would be out training. I lasted till, you know, 7 years at that club, signed there at 30.
What a
So I think, you know, I did it the right way, really.
Unbelievable. Absolutely, and since you're retired, you're smashing it as well off the pitch, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's half the reason I'm retired, really. I think just because, like I said, I did the podcast and the book, whatever, and they both sort of went really well. And me and Sid's actually we did our coaching badges together. And I didn't know which way I was going to go because I definitely wanted to sort of stay in the game some way, either talk about it or you know, coach or something. But when the way that went, sort of, I just sort of had to follow that route really. But I must admit, when I look at someone like Stevie G and that winning the league, like it does wrangle with me.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you
I do.
Yeah.
It does make you think, I'm never going to have that again.
Yeah.
You know, that part of a team winning. You know, that dressing room, the footage after, you know, in the dressing room where they're all just like that feeling, like winning an FA Cup. You know, him winning a. I'm only saying Stevie just because I played with him and I see him like being a manager now. Scott Parker the other night winning at Anfield, you know.
The emotion, the sort of...
You know, like when you see him at the final whistle with that emotion, that does wrangle with me a little bit. Like I'm never gonna have that again.
Yeah.
But you never know. You've got time on your side. It's not like you're still young.
You can't replicate that, can you?
No.
You cannot. You just can't.
But we'll have another Crouch Fest anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, you've literally got, like, your
Can
own.
I come to that one?
You're a presenter. You've got your own sort of show, TV show. You've got your own pod. Are you going to walk the lads out for the FA Cup final? Is that what's missing? Hey, part of the royal
Do you know
family.
what? Honestly, like everything I'm doing now, like I'm doing. If it's fun, I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm not looking at any other. There's no path. Do you know what I mean? But I feel that sometimes you just got to go with what you enjoy doing, and I enjoyed playing football, and I thank God I had the career I did. And then now I'm literally doing what I feel like is fun, and I'm staying involved in football, which is nice. You know, going to the games, and you know we work together doing games, and with the podcast, all that kind of stuff. I just love doing it, so I'm going to continue to do it.
And we love you, mate, and this has been absolutely awesome.
Big class.
So good.
Brilliant.
Thank you so mumuch.
Absolute pleasure.
Top man,
Top man.
Crouchy.
Cheers, lads.
Hey, Jude.
I'll take you down there one day, boy.